Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing the brand new CIVIVI Mini Shakan. This is a very compact, possibly a fifth pocket carry EDC knife. Comes in 4 different variations. The one you see here with like a goldish color, aluminum frame, and a satin blade. You can also get it with a black aluminum frame and a satin blade. And there's also a black washed bladed version with red aluminum scales and a bluish gray colored aluminum with a Damascus blade. Like I said, this is a compact EDC knife. I can pretty much fit it in the palm of my hands. Coming in at 5.99 inches total. Has a 2.48 inch drop point blade. Nice even satin finish on mine. Excellent row of jimping there. Could have come out a little bit further, I think, but back here it definitely grips the thumb without being uncomfortable. And when you're putting pressure down, that thumb's not moving. Got a nice needle-like tip there. That's gonna be great for piercing. And being that that tip is pretty much in line with the center of those scales and it's a small blade, you can easily maneuver that tip around things if you need to tray something out, or if you need to get a lot of pressure down on that tip, you can get right at the end of it. Pinch grips are great on this one. If you had to pierce into something, you could. You have a semi-guard with that flipper tab. And being you don't have any crazy belly here, just a very gradual belly to that tip. In-hand cut should be good as well. And cutting on a flat cutting surface should be very easy also. Your blade steel on this one is Nitro V stainless steel. CIVIVI does a great job with their Nitro V. It holds a respectable edge, especially at its price point. Takes a very, very keen edge and it drops back really easily also. We have a well-executed sharpening choil. That plunge grind starts to thicken up about right here, so you should have several sharpenings before this will ever start to thicken on you. You have dual thumb studs that stay out of the cutting path, as you can see. And we have an EDC knife that's built for performance. You have some nice thin blade stock at 0.09 inches, paired with a nice full flat grind that comes down nice and thin to around 14 thousandths behind the edge. So as long as CIVIVI did a good job of sharpening it up, it should be a great performer, and we're going to find out. Man, this one came stupid sharp out of box. Both CIVIVIs I got this time came very, very sharp, tons of bite. This one's got fantastic edge geometry. That full flat grind is gliding through that cardboard like it's air. You got enough usable blade length to make this length of a cut. If you start cutting long rows of cardboard, it's probably not going to be the best for that, unless you're doing push cuts, because you just don't have a whole bunch of edge there. But you can always make these shorter cuts break down boxes rather easily. And so far excellent. I figured it would, as long as it was sharp. Now we're testing those ergos, doing light pressure. It wants to bite into that wood rather quickly. I mean, I'm trying to use the least amount of pressure I can, but it just wants to bite. So far, so good. But as I start to increase pressure, I start feeling that pocket clip more and more and more. And then whenever I get to this portion, I'm really feeling that pocket clip. It wasn't terrible, but it was definitely noticeable. I think it would have been better to use a flat clip. Maybe a mill tie clip would have been great. And then right away, I can feel how incredibly sharp and that this one has a ton of bite to it. It is taking little to no pressure to get through this 1/2-inch sisal rope. And majority of the time I'm using the pointer finger grip, which y'all know it has to be stupid sharp for me personally to do it. And boy, is it sharp. Perfect amount of belly to make these cuts on the flat cutting surface. If I wanted to, do a sawing motion cut, I could easily do that, but no need because I'm able to push cut these because of the sharpness. It never felt like it slowed down at all. And when it comes to CIVIVI's edges, they seem to just hold up really well. They do a really good job on the heat treat is all I'm really trying to say. They always sharpen up easy, deburr easy, and they hold their edge longer than a lot of other production knives in the same steels. You can easily use that scalpel tip to do drag cuts. And nothing that I put in front of this one really gave it any trouble. The dense tubings were no problem for that flat grind, full flat grind. And like I said just a second ago, the edge never felt like it slowed down at all. Whenever I got to the denim, it felt fresh as fresh can be and blasted through it. Yeah, we got through this very quickly. All three knives that CIVIVI SendCut sent me came wicked sharp. I will say right now that the Mini Shakan performed better than the Void Flare, which performed great. It doesn't have the geometry that the Mini Shakan did. This one had a little bit slicey of a blade, and it was noticeable. It also performed just a little better than the SendCut Stratix, even though this one came wicked sharp also. So A+ performance on the Mini Shakan. Now let's take a look at the deployment action on this one. So you have a flipper tab that has some nice grippy jimping on it, and you have thumb studs. That flipper tab in the light switch comes rocketing out. The detent being created by that button lock is nice and crisp. You can do a push button because you have a nice flat spot and that jimping wraps around. Rockets out. Both of them are nice and snappy. You could use that button if you wanted to. The thumb stud action rockets out. I've noticed pretty much all of CIVIVI's button lock aluminum handled knives have a fantastic action. I can't think of one that didn't have a very snappy action. This is one of them. You can also access on the left side easily as well. And this one's riding on cage ceramic bearings, giving it a nice glassy smooth action. Now let's take a look at this nice texture we have on these aluminum scales. I think it's not only an attractive looking texture, it looks kind of three-dimensional there. It also offers the perfect amount of grip without being uncomfortable at all. You got these large chamfers here and all the way around these scales. So none of these edges are sharp at all. I do think they could have put a filler tab on this side. And you can also see you have nice crisp Torx T8 body screws. You have a flush CIVIVI logoed pivot there and a T8 pivot screw that's domed, chamfered around the side, so you don't notice that at all. Your button lock has some texture to it and a nice little recess spot so you don't accidentally disengage that. That button has to be pushed below that area right there for that lock to release. A tip up deep carry clip that's a mile long for this knife. And like I just mentioned, it is reversible, and as you can see, they countersunk those screws and inset that clip into the aluminum. There is no flat spot underneath that pocket clip, so over time, that texture will probably become a pocket destroyer. And I personally love a good deep carry clip. However, on this particular knife, for being as compact as it is, I think it might have been smarter to put a little bit of a lower profile clip, maybe even their mill tie clip, just a non-deep carry. I think the mill tie clip might have been a better idea. The reason I say that, because where my medium-sized hands land, if I'm choked back behind that flipper tab, I can feel that clip. Now, it's not super uncomfortable unless I'm really bearing down, because that's where it's sitting in my hands. And I think a lower profile like the mill tie clips would have been a lot more comfortable, because your handle is only 3.5 inches. So if you have lower dicks or large hands, this one's probably gonna be too small for you. And your grip area from the front of that flipper tab to the back right here is only 2.93 inches. Like I said, I can cram 4 fingers on there, but I mean, I'm not even getting the whole pinky on there. Now, if you want to, you could straddle that pivot like that and have a little bit more grip area. I can easily get 4 fingers that way. Personally, though, I think this is a great light-duty knife, so, you shouldn't have to be bearing down into things with such a smaller knife. This one also has flow-through construction, 2 hourglass standoffs in the back. If you're a lanyard guy, you got a lanyard post if you want to tie a lanyard to it. These are solid aluminum scales, no stainless steel liners in there, so it's going to bring down the weight tremendously. Coming in at 1.95 ounces, absolute featherweight. And probably my biggest gripe on this knife is your stop pin placement in the closed position. Why, CIVIVI? Now, I'm going to say right now, it's not terrible on this knife. I'm okay with it. But I marked it out where that closed stop pin is landing. It's hitting right around right where the plunge grind meets down. So you're going to have tons of sharpening life before it could ever become an issue. You know, by the time you get all the way right here, this thing's going to look pretty funny as far as the width of the blade after you sharpened off all that material. But it's still not ideal, and I would have much preferred it to be landing somewhere back here where it wouldn't have ever become an issue. The lockup on this one, no movement at all, up or down, left or right. It's hard to hold this one. I don't want it, if it does close, I don't want it to. It's one thing, CIVIVI has definitely gotten their button locks down packed. I have never had one of them fail a spine whack. Anytime somebody's asking me for a semi-budget button lock, I always recommend CIVIVI's. Now time for some quick size comparisons. As you can see, it's a little shorter than the Real Steel Viz, and it's just a little bigger than the CIVIVI Baby Banter. It's also shorter than the CIVIVI Krabby, and is very similar in length to the Vosteed Mini Acorn. And lastly, it's just a little shorter than the Kaiser Mini Bulldog, and it's just a little longer than the Trivisa Koala. And since no knife's perfect, what are my nitpicks complaints? We talked about them already. I think it possibly could have been better if we would have had a non-deep carry clip, kind of like CIVIVI's aftermarket mill tie clips. Definitely way more comfortable in hand. However, that would have brought the price up some, and they could have put a filler tab on this side as well. Another thing though, that would have probably brought the price up. Could have extended this jimping out just a little bit further if you're going to put jimping. And they could have went with T8 clip screws rather than the T6 they have, just so you don't have to swap drivers, and T8 are a lot less likely to strip out on you. And lastly, my biggest gripe is the stop pin placement in the closed position. But like I said, it's not the biggest deal because mine's not contacting till right here. Not only is your knife going to look really funny once you've grinded it to about right here, but I think you would have had tons of life out of this knife. So what are my final thoughts on the new CIVIVI Mini Shakan? If you're looking for an incredibly slicey compact knife that I think personally looks great, it's got a very versatile blade here, and these come in at $63. I forget what the Damascus version comes in, but it's going to be a little bit more pricey. I think it's a good option. I think it'd make a good office knife, a good secondary blade, light duty EDC knife, one that is going to be rather lightweight and rather slicey. And yeah, overall, I like the knife. If nothing I talked about was a deal breaker for you, then yeah, I could definitely recommend this one. If you're interested in picking up any of the new CIVIVI Mini Shakans or other new release CIVIVIs like the CIVIVI Void Flare, or any of the new released Sin Cut knives like the Stratix, as well as any of the new Wii knives that just dropped, they will all be linked down below in the description. If you have any questions in particular about the knife, feel free to ask me down below and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep these blades sharp. Smile more. Pick a poop. Peace.